I love country. Do I love country here on KHTS Radio? I'm so excited to be with you today. It's Tuesday at 1 o'clock, and the show is called The Business of Life, and I've been doing this show for over 10 years. I've been on literally hundreds of radio stations around the country, but I'm right here in Santa Clarita, and I hope you like the show. The reason I call it The Business of Life, because we talk about so many subjects. The business of life could be technology, which we're going to talk about today. Could be education, which we're going to talk about today. Could be social issues. Maybe touch a little bit today on social issues, maybe not. Entertainment for sure, not today, but we'll talk about entertainment issues. A lot of philosophy, because I love philosophy. I wrote this book. Well, you can't see it because I'm on the radio, but I wrote a book called The Thinking Room. As the weeks go along, we'll talk a little bit about what's in the book. I'm also writing another book called, what is it called? It's called How to Get Lucky in Life. So we'll talk about that. Not today, but we'll talk about that. Today, I'm so honored to have a dear friend on with me. Also, I'm dedicating the show today to Julian. So, Aaron, my TV went out over the weekend. Can you believe that? No TV.
No TV? What'd you do?
Read.
You read?
Read.
Would you read a book, a newspaper?
I read books. Yes, I read books.
Tablet or physical copy?
Physical. I got to hold the book.
Nice.
So, big shout out to Julian with Dish TV. He came over this morning, first thing, and fixed it. What a nice young man. So, Julian, thank you, brother. You made my day. Not that I watch TV, but I got to watch the Dodgers every night. Big Dodger fan. But I'm honored today to introduce to you, and you'll hear his voice many times. Hopefully he'll come in the station once in a while. His name is Bill Frank, and Bill was my partner in Ventura County for a number of years on KVTA, and our main station was KKZZ. And we took that station from nothing and built it up to a rated station, which means we had thousands of people listening to us. And people loved our show. We did it for 3 hours. Now I'm welcoming him to Santa Clarita. So, Bill, welcome. I know you're on the phone, but you have this great voice. How are you, pal?
I am doing great, Coach. It's good to be with you again.
Yeah, good to have. There was nobody I would start my show with other than you. And I also nicknamed you Billy the Brain because you're the smartest guy that I know. You graduated from Duke with honors. And I pushed you out of the station one day, and I said, this is ridiculous. You need to have your own show. Then you had your own show, and you interviewed. I was so jealous so many times. You interviewed, I think, almost everybody in the United States but the president and vice president. You had some of the biggest names in business, entertainment, sports on your show, and I would listen to your show every day in my office. So I'm glad you're with me today. I'm glad you're with me today. So let's talk today a little bit about something that's bugging me, and that is our educational system.
Okay.
On the front page of the business section of USA Today on the money, it says the best jobs. Here's what you need to land the best jobs. So we're going to talk about the best jobs out there, but the lead-in is this, that robots, Aaron, will take your job. So if you're not prepared, if you don't understand the significance of robots and technology, I don't know what you can do for a living. And I can't be more serious. And I'm doing this show, my first show, titled The Business of Life, about this because I think our educational system sucks. I think our educational system is broken. And it's interesting, Bill, I started saying this, years ago. All of a sudden now it's a popular thing to start bashing college and curriculum. And, anybody that's smart understands that kids coming out of college are not prepared. They're not prepared to get into the workforce and make a profit. Now, that's a general statement. So let me back it up by saying this. If you're going to be a doctor, a lawyer, or an Indian chief, and you've got to go and get licensed by the state, maybe you're going to be a CPA, maybe you're going to be a doctor, maybe you're going to be a lawyer, you've got to go and get your degrees because you're not going to be able to pass the test. You're not going to be able to get into the system. So I get that. But if you're not going to be a doctor or lawyer or an accountant, you don't need, in my estimate, what am I trying to say, Bill?
In your estimation, and I would agree with you to a certain extent, Coach. Here's the thing. Our colleague Mike Rowe talks about this all the time. He's got a big push on right now. Mike Rowe's the guy from Dirty Jobs, for those of you who may not know. He's the guy who has the push on right now that says don't go to college. College is a waste of money. Go to a trade school instead. And we are suffering right now in this country for lack of tradespeople, people to fix automobiles. Coach, you mentioned your television went out, and you had a guy come out, and he fixed your television for you. Tradespeople are in high demand. There's huge unemployment in that area because employers just cannot find the right people to fit those jobs. And the reason that there are so few people in the trades these days is because we've had this decades-long push, go to college, get a degree, get a sheepskin. Never mind the escalating costs of college. Over the last 25 years, no, it's longer than that, last 30 years, do you realize that the cost of college has gone up 1,400%? That's way faster than the rate of inflation, I'll tell you that. And that's because you've got all of these college professors commanding big, big salaries. You've got more administrators than you do professors in some schools, and those administrators jack up the price of college. And it's gotten to the point where a student has to take out beaucoup loans just to be able to afford college, and when they get out, they can't find a job in what they learned at school. Whereas if they'd gone to a trade school, they'd graduate in 2 or 3 years, they'd start out in a job earning $60,000, $70,000 a year. And there's a real discrepancy there.
Well said. Bill Franken, the coach here on The Business of Life, every Tuesday now at 1 p.m. So today we're talking about the article in USA Today on the money page, right on the front cover. Here's what you need to land the best jobs in America, and it's echoing exactly what you're saying, Bill. It talks about the fact that it gets into the weeds about where the really good jobs are, and there's no secret. The really good jobs are in high technology, data scientists, data engineers, analytical managers, stuff like that. And it says right here in the paper, you don't need to go to college to learn these jobs, but you have to find either a mentor, or you've got to find a way into these industries. And right in the article it says there's not enough, as you just said, trade schools to teach these people the art and science of doing these jobs. So I don't know where this younger generation is going to wind up, but this is a cheap segue into robots. I want to talk about robots for a minute, and then we'll come back to this.
All right. Well, robots are big.
Robots are big. There's 3 issues. When I talk about robots, there's 3 issues for me. One is that robots now are going to replace a lot of human jobs. They're going to take jobs away in the restaurant industry. They're performing surgeries in the medical industry. They're building cars. So at what point are we in the United States of America are going to be in trouble, Bill, when even smart people, smart kids like Aaron, can't find a job because the robot is replacing his job. Like right now, he's running our show. He's what's called a board op. You and I both know what that is. I would say in 5 years, my robot Duke can do your job, Aaron, because you don't talk much. Although say hi to everybody so they know you're live.
I talked earlier.
You do?
Yeah.
But don't you think a robot's going to replace you at some point?
It depends. Hopefully, in 5 years I might not be board hopping, but
you won't be board hopping. You're a young man that just graduated. There's a young man that just graduated from college, so I'm real proud of Aaron.
I know, what a waste now that I'm hearing you guys.
Don't take it hard, Aaron.
Listen to what we have to say, because maybe when we're done, we'll encourage you and you'll feel better. So back to robots. So Bill, where are we going here?
Well, robots are the wave of the future, and they have been for some time. In the automotive industry, they've sort of led the way there. Cars are built by robots today. They're painted by robots. They're assembled, spot welding by robots. And that whole initiative actually started in the Far East, in Japan and in Korea, where robots are pervasive when it comes to the car manufacturing industry. But as you pointed out, robots can do amazing things. I mean, they can do LASIK eye surgery. You don't think the doctors are in there actually with a scalpel doing the LASIK anymore. That's too precise, too fine a thing. They use a robot who absolutely can do this, repeat the process hundreds of times a day and not ever get tired, not ever make a mistake, be as precise as anything can be, because it's all done with lasers and computer technology and so forth. The reality is that robots are going to take all of our jobs. Well, a good portion of them anyway. I mean, back in 2013, Oxford University did a study, and the surprising result of that study was 47% of jobs will be replaced by robots or artificial intelligence. That was the reality. That was what they claimed back then. And as you pointed out, Coach, we're starting to see that now. More and more jobs are being replaced. Not only is it eye surgery in the case of a doctor, which is a professional job, but it's things like diagnosis. A computer can diagnose a disease better and more accurately than a human being can, because computers can take in all the available information, can sort through it, can make sense of it, and come up with a diagnosis. And they've done head-to-head competitions, doctors versus artificial intelligence, and artificial intelligence wins. It's just because a doctor can't read all of the current stuff, whereas a robot, artificial intelligence, can read every one of the 7,000 new articles that come out every year in the medical trade. And they can absorb it, they can use it, and they can apply it.
All right, let's get in the weeds a little bit. The show's called The Business of Life. Bill Frank and the coach here, Coach Ron Tunick. Maybe I'll talk a little bit about my next book. I'm holding up the last book called what's it called? It's called The Thinking Room. Here's the book right here. Aaron's going to hold it up. It's called The Thinking Room. But I want you to, the reason I'm talking about the book, The Thinking Room, because I want you to start thinking about what Bill Frank just said. If this Oxford study is even close to being right, which is 47% of all jobs will be replaced by robots, we're in trouble. Or are we in trouble? So let's talk a little bit about what robots can do. They can work 24 hours a day, right, Bill?
That's right.
They don't talk back to you yet, but we'll get into this in a minute. So they don't talk back to you. They're going to show up for work on time. They're not clock watchers, right? I mean, there's so many positives to why a business owner would want to use a robot. So when you look at the restaurant industry, I talked to a friend of mine that owns a whole bunch of fast food restaurants. You know what he told me? He says, Coach, we cannot survive on paying $15 an hour. He said, we will have robots in here flipping hamburgers. I'm not going to tell you which franchise it was, but flipping hamburgers, taking your orders, and basically running the place. And I said, yeah, go.
I mean, in London, they have absolutely pioneered the way with taking your orders by iPad. You walk into McDonald's in London right now, and yes, there is somebody behind the counter, but there's only one person, whereas there might have been 3 or 4 before. You walk up to an iPad, you sit down at the iPad, you decide what it is you want. You want your Big Mac, you don't want pickles on it. You customize the order the way that you want it. You hit the old enter button, and you can actually do the cash transaction or credit card transaction right there online, and you walk and go pick up your order when it's all done. Also, McDonald's is leading the way with hamburger flipping. I mean, you mentioned that, but there are robots that do nothing but flip hamburgers. And they come in, they're expensive at first, but when you take a look at that cost and you amortize it over a few years, compared to what you end up paying a salaried employee at $15 per hour, all of a sudden you look and you see that the robot becomes way more cost effective in the long run.
Well, sure, the robot doesn't show up sick, complaining, excuses.
No vacations.
No vacations. So let me hear. You know what was really bugging me this morning when I was thinking about preparing for the show today? You're listening to The Business of Life, Coach Ron Tunick, and my very special partner, Bill Frank, a graduate of Duke University with honors, and I nicknamed him Billy the Brain because he's one of the brightest people I've ever met. But here's what irritated me this morning. Why don't the colleges and the high schools get it? I mean, where are these educators and administrators? They don't read the paper. They're not up to date on the things that you and I understand about business and technology. I mean, the curriculums, what are people learning that they can apply in the real world, Bill? And this has got me irritated, man, really irritated.
Well, this is the big issue about our educational system, and you touched on the teachers, the administrators, and so forth. They're not oblivious to this. They see it. But at the high school level, they'll tell you we don't prepare people for jobs. That's not our goal. Our goal is to get them ready to go to college. That's part of the mantra that we talked about earlier, where in this country, the push has been for decades that you go to college, you get your college degree. And so everybody up and down the food chain, the high schools and the elementary schools, have all bought into this is the career path that children are going to follow.
I know, but these not the professors, the administrators know that these kids, they go out to dinner, they go to Chili's, and waiting on you at Chili's is somebody with a master's degree. I mean, I don't understand. I know the system's rigged. I call these colleges nothing more than sophisticated loan centers. These kids go and now come out of college with debt that takes them 10, 15, 20 years to pay off, and they're still trying to find their way in life. They're still trying to find a job that will pay them accordingly. So back to robots. So back to technology, back to artificial intelligence. So this artificial intelligence is getting crazy. When I go on the web and I have a problem and it says live chat, you're not talking to a live person. You're talking to a robot.
Sometimes you are, and sometimes you're not. This gets to be really, really murky. So when you're talking about your example of a live chat where you've got a problem and you want to solve it, chances are actually very strong that this person is live, that they're actually answering your question. Now, they're simultaneously answering 2 or 3 other people's questions, too, so they don't have your full undivided attention, but it's probably a human. Where robots and artificial intelligence really became into its own was during the past election. It was amazing in how many swing states both the Democrats and the Republicans set up artificial intelligence for robocalling and also for online chat with their constituents, trying to drive them to the polls to vote for their particular candidate. And it was amazing how much of a change between the 2012 and this election there was in terms of the use of artificial intelligence. These bots, they pick up on keywords that you either say or type, and then it can answer accordingly. So if you say the word national defense, or the term national defense, all of a sudden, the bot picks up on that, and depending on which party it is, they have a pre-programmed idea of national defense. So if you say national defense and it's Republican, they say, we need a strong national defense, we need to build up our Navy, we need to build up our armed forces, we've got to spend more money. Whereas if it's the Democrats, they hear that term national defense, then their artificial intelligence kicks in and says, national defense is on the wane, we need to let other people help pay the way, and we don't have to be the policemen of the world. Regardless of what the canned message was, it was all triggered by what you typed or what you said. No human intervention whatsoever, yet it got their message across to the constituents to whom it mattered the most.
All right, well, this is going to be, we have a minute left before we take a break. When Bill and I come back after the break, we're going to talk about Uber, we're going to talk about luck, we're going to talk about one of my angst is about our local congressman and politics for just a minute. But let's finish off on this. So, Bill, the bottom line is somebody's got to wake up in the educational system. Somebody's got to start putting classes in high school on artificial intelligence, on robots, on all the things that are happening in the real world. And colleges have to even wake up more and start to give kids, if you read this article, and I know you have, and I know other people listening, hopefully will read this article in USA Today about jobs. If your kid doesn't buckle down and start to understand how important math is, if they don't look at science, if they don't look at everything surrounding this artificial intelligence world and robots and how all this interconnects, I don't like our future. I don't like our future in our country because the cyber world that we are now living in is going to require cyber coders. It's going to require people that understand analytics, and our colleges better wake up. So we're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back. Billy and I are going to maybe talk about 4 or 5 subjects that we're both interested in. I think you're going to be interested in when we get to the subject about luck. I think you'll be interested in that. The show is called The Business Life. The station, one of the best radio stations in California. We won the award for the best community radio station, KHTS Radio. You can listen on hometownstation.com and our fabulous app. If you go to the App Store and type in KHTS, you can listen on your mobile device. Take the show anywhere. And, of course, all of our shows are podcast on KHTS Radio. We'll be right back.